The scent of grilled meat mingled with laughter and the clink of glasses, weaving a familiar atmosphere through the Morrison family's backyard. Another summer barbecue. Another showcase of Olivia's sparkling charisma. I stood off to the side, watching my sister bask in the spotlight, as always, surrounded by doting relatives who hung on her every word. Then came my mother's voice, sharp, deliberate, and far too loud. "Did you all hear about Olivia's latest triumph?" she said, glowing as she topped off wine glasses. "She graduated top of her class at Harvard, MBA, of course, and she already has interviews lined up with the biggest firms in the country." I took a slow sip of water, bracing myself, because in our family, celebrating Olivia was never complete without a jab in my direction. "Unlike some people," my mother continued, her gaze flicking toward me, "who still haven't quite figured life out. What are you doing these days, Sophia?" Before I could answer, my father chimed in from the grill. "Still doing that consulting, freelance thing? What do you call it? Independent business advisory." He laughed, low and dismissive. I traced the rim of my glass with one finger, thinking of the boardroom I'd be sitting in tomorrow, the Sterling Corporation's boardroom, where we'd close the biggest acquisition of the year, a deal I had personally orchestrated. "Something like that," I murmured. Olivia, radiant in her designer sundress, twirled a lock of hair between her fingers as she beamed at the crowd. "Well, I have some exciting news," she announced. "I have an interview tomorrow at Sterling Corporation, you know, the top consulting firm in the country, and get this, they reached out to me." Applause and hugs followed. Aunt Susan all but tackled her with joy. "Oh, sweetheart, that's incredible. Sterling is so prestigious, they'd be lucky to have you. They say the CEO is impossible to impress," my father added, puffing his chest. "You get hired there, you've basically made it." I stifled a smile, thinking of the resumes on my desk, including one with Olivia's name. She didn't know, none of them knew. Sterling Corporation wasn't just a firm I worked with, it was mine, the company I built from the ground up, brick by unseen brick, the one that now sat at the top of the industry while they all thought I was floundering. "What position are you interviewing for?" I asked, feigning interest. "Senior Strategy Consultant," Olivia replied, her voice gleaming with pride. "Straight into the big leagues." She laughed and added, mockingly, "Maybe once I'm in, I can put in a word for you, Sophia. They might have a junior analyst spot or something." "That's generous of you," my mother said approvingly. "Lord knows your sister could use the help. 32 and still, well, whatever it is she's doing." I thought of my name on the office door, S.J. Morgan, CEO, of the Forbes feature that named me one of the top young executives of the decade, complete with a shadowed portrait and a byline that made no mention of Sophia Morrison. "That's kind of you," I said quietly. "Good luck tomorrow." Olivia gave me a smug little smile. "Some of us make our own luck. You should try it." The conversation drifted to other topics, my cousin's promotion, someone's new SUV, more praise for Olivia. I said nothing, I let it all play out, storing every condescending glance, every patronizing remark, because tomorrow, everything would shift, and this would be the last time they saw me as the one who never quite measured up. As twilight descended and the shadows grew long, Olivia stood to make her exit. "I should get home early," she said brightly. "Big day tomorrow. Word is, Sterling's CEO will be at the interview." "The elusive S.J. Morgan," my father said, impressed. "No one even knows what they look like." "Oh, they'll love me," Olivia declared, "and by this time tomorrow, maybe Mom will finally have something to brag about." My mother dabbed at imaginary tears. "We're so proud, sweetheart, at least one of our daughters made something of herself." I checked my watch. 14 hours until Olivia's interview. 14 hours until the illusion they all believed would shatter. I gathered my things, murmuring polite excuses about needing to prep for an early meeting. "Oh yes, your little consulting work," my mother said with a dismissive wave. "Don't forget to chip in for your father's birthday gift. Olivia's already covered most of it, again." I nodded, offering no protest, no mention of the fact that my so-called little consulting work had made me a millionaire by the time I was 30. Let them cling to their assumptions. Tomorrow would take care of everything. As I walked toward my modest sedan, the car I reserved for family functions, leaving the Mercedes at home, I caught Olivia's voice ringing across the lawn. "What a waste, can't even land a real job." I smiled to myself, picturing the nameplate on my office door, S.J. Morgan, Chief Executive Officer. Tomorrow, she'd finally understand what a real job looked like, and why there wouldn't be one waiting for her at my company. By sunrise, I was in my office at Sterling Tower, the city skyline gleaming through the glass behind me. Today felt different. The Armani suit felt more like armor than attire, and my heels echoed sharply against the marble floors as I made my way across the executive suite. Marcus, my assistant, greeted me outside my office with his usual calm efficiency. "Your sister's interview is at 9 a.m., he said, sliding a folder across my desk. "She's in the lobby. Arrived 20 minutes early and already told the front desk she'll be revamping this floor once she's hired." I raised an eyebrow. "Confident," I said. Marcus gave a dry smirk. "The marketing team says she's been posting about her upcoming executive role all over LinkedIn." I opened the folder. Olivia's resume was slick: Harvard MBA, big-name internships, polished recommendations. But I knew better. The internships were family favors, and those letters came courtesy of Dad's golf buddies. "The board is curious why you're sitting in on a mid-level candidate's interview," Marcus added. I smiled. "Quality control." He nodded. "3 interviews before yours, all senior partners, all briefed to push hard." Perfect. At precisely 9 a.m., I watched through the one-way glass as Olivia stepped onto the executive floor. Her Chanel suit was immaculate, her posture perfect. She radiated ambition, the kind that believed appearances alone would be enough. The first interview began. I watched as charm gave way to discomfort, her talking points unraveled. Her lack of depth became increasingly obvious under pointed questions. By the second interview, she was floundering. By the third, defensive. By the time Marcus knocked on my door, her shine had dulled considerably. "She's ready for you," he said. "Send her in." I sat with my back to the room, facing the skyline. My chair, high-backed and commanding, blocked her view. "Please, have a seat, Miss Morrison," I said, voice cool and professional. "Thank you for meeting with me, Mr. Morgan. I really admire what you've built here." I turned my chair slowly. "Actually, it's Miss Morgan, S.J. Morgan." Silence. Then, "Sophia?" "Hello, Olivia." Her mouth opened, then closed. Again, her words, so confident just hours earlier, evaporated. "But, you're just a consultant." I gestured to the wall behind me. "Awards, magazine covers, articles charting Sterling's rise. I built this company while you and Mom were laughing at my so-called directionless career. Every time you bragged about your MBA, I was finalizing multi-million-dollar deals. I've been S.J. Morgan for nearly a decade, hiding in plain sight." She stared, stunned. "You're the CEO?" "I am." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" "Because I didn't need your validation, but I think you needed this moment." I let that settle before leaning forward. "Now, tell me, Olivia, why do you want to work for my company?" Every time Mom called me a disappointment, I was being named one of the most influential CEOs in the country. You tricked us." Olivia's voice cracked, her composure slipping into panic. I met her gaze calmly. "No, Olivia, you tricked yourselves. You were all so sure I'd failed that you never looked closely enough to see the truth." I unlocked my phone and opened my banking app, turning the screen toward her. "That birthday money Mom mentioned? Just sent my share. It's more than your annual salary. For me, it's a rounding error." Tears welled in her eyes, more from frustration than embarrassment. "So what now?" she demanded. "You're going to humiliate me? Tell everyone?" I shook my head. "I don't need to say a word. Your interview today spoke for itself. 3 of our senior partners independently recommended against hiring you. The feedback? Arrogant, unprepared, entitled." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You set me up. I gave you what you asked for, an interview at Sterling. It's not my fault you weren't ready." I rose, signaling the meeting was over. "My advice? Apply elsewhere, and next time, come with more than just a resume and a designer suit. You might want to try building something real." She stood slowly, her confidence now visibly crumbling. Her polished appearance looked more like a child playing dress-up than an aspiring executive. "Do Mom and Dad know?" "Not yet," I said, "but I'm sure your version of this story will reach them soon enough." I pressed the intercom. "Marcus, please escort Ms. Morrison out, and cancel my dinner plans with the family tonight. I'll be tied up in a board meeting." I heard her burst into tears as she stepped into the hallway. Within an hour, My phone lit up with furious messages, first from Mom. What is this cruel joke? Olivia is devastated. Then from Dad. How dare you humiliate your sister? We raised you better than this. I responded to the group chat with a single line. You raised me to be successful. Congratulations, you did. Now maybe you'll learn what success actually looks like. Then I silenced my phone and got back to work, running the billion-dollar company I had built while they dismissed me as directionless. In the weeks that followed, the family dynamic changed. Gone were the passive-aggressive comments about my consulting. They were replaced by awkward silences, hesitant questions, and a noticeable absence of backyard BBQs. Olivia took a mid-level job at a second-tier firm, her dreams of executive status quietly shelved. My parents stopped mentioning her accomplishments during phone calls. But the most gratifying moment came 3 months later, when Forbes published a full-length profile, complete with a cover photo that left no room for confusion. S.J. Morgan, the silent architect of power. I had a copy delivered to every family member. The subtitle? How one woman built a billion-dollar empire while her family thought she was failing. Sometimes, success doesn't need to be shouted. Sometimes, the most powerful message comes from saying nothing at all. Except, perhaps, from the CEO's chair.